K.Luke dropping another batch of their blended straight bourbon whiskeys, this time batch number 6. Batches number 4 and number 5 have been absolutely fantastic. One of them may be currently in my top 10 whiskeys of the year. So these are blends of Kentucky and Indiana bourbons. They've put out some toasteds, they put out some ryes. So far, their stock is just continuing to rise throughout the whiskey world. I'm excited to see where this batch 6 is going to land. Will it take out the one that is currently in my top 10 whiskeys of the year? Let's find out. Alright guys, so as I stated, this is a blend of high and low rye mash bills utilizing Kentucky and Indiana bourbons. This one comes in at 119.8 proof. Let's get the nose. So a little bit different on the nose from the last couple. Further into the glass, I do start to pick up a little bit more fruits. Again, you got that that caramel and vanilla, but a little bit more fruitiness to it. Further into the glass, further away from the glass, again, it steers more towards that kind of traditional bourbon, those caramels and vanillas, a little bit of some sweet oak there as well. Fruit's definitely present on the nose, slight little bit of some toffee sweetness there. And then further away, maybe a little bit of cherry, maybe that pops up there a little further away from the glass. Again, nice kind of, vanillas and caramels, obviously. A little bit of that cherry, a little bit of some toffee sweetness in there, a little bit of sweet oak. Let's get in the palate, guys. Cheers. Yeah, so right away, that one hits the palate with a nice kind of burst of spice. Definitely some of that rye spice present there across the center of the palate. Front of the palate, a little bit of that toffee sweetness, as well as some caramel there on the front. Again, middle of the palate, that rye spice starts to pop up there. A little bit of some black pepper. Into the back, those baking spices kind of start to mingle together. Some sweet oak there that kind of follows through into the back of the palate. Really nice finish on it, medium to long, almost along that long side. I feel like this one is almost a blend of that 4 and 5. A lot in that. Again, there's that. Really kind of dense factor to it, the sweetness, and then there's also that big old burst of baking spice and rye spice there that's present, and that's almost what I was getting on the 4 and 5. So it almost feels like it's a blend of both of them together. Really nice finish on this one though, I will say that. I feel like the finish is a little bit longer than the last two on this one. Let's get in the second sip. There's a lot of different flavors on this one that are starting to appear. So that initial rye spice on the center of the palate definitely faded away. Again, on the front of the palate, there's that sweetness there, like some of that toffee kind of caramel sweetness there on the front of the palate. Middle of the palate, it starts to turn into like a lemon wedge with some black pepper kind of dabbed on top of it. You definitely get that pepperiness. Maybe a little bit of that rye spice still kind of lingering there, not as dominant on that first sip. Not as dominant as the first sip was, but still kind of hanging around there in the middle of the palate. In the back of the palate, you do start to get some of that sweet oak. Then there's all of a sudden this burst of those baking spices. There's some that nutmeg, some allspice, little hint of that saffron there on the back of the palate. Slightly kind of earthy there as it gets to the back. But again, it maintains that spiciness from those baking spices as it goes down. And it's got a nice finish to it. Medium to long finish, almost on that long side. This is a really good batch. I'm pretty happy with this batch 6 here. Let's get the last sip, guys. Cheers. So the more I sip on this, I notice that it almost becomes chewy. Definitely very nice viscosity to it, kind of thick. But on the back of the palate is really where those spices really kind of start to kind of ball up, and it's that allspice and that nutmeg, that little bit of saffron there, almost giving it the little earthy feel there on the back of the palate before it flows through into the finish. And the finish is nice because you're getting, you're getting some of that proof that goes down, as well as some of those baking spices that are continuing to kind of flow down with some of that rye spice together. So it's definitely spicy. It is more on the baking spice side of spicy, not necessarily the proof, but the proof obviously helping that finish kind of flow through. Again, another fantastic batch here, K.Luke. So I want to thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. I want to give a big shout out to my buddy Eric D for supplying me with this bottle here to review on the channel. Guys, another K.Luke review in the books. Batches 4 and 5, fantastic. Add number 6 to that list. A great K.Luke batch. Would love to try all 3 of these head to head in a blind. See which one is gonna come out the winner. I am excited to see if K.Luke drops another batch before the end of the year. If they do, I would love to see the differences in these. I feel like this is almost a blend of that 4 and 5. The 4 was a little more sweeter than the 5. 5 offered a lot of that those baking spices, a little bit more spice driven. This one is almost a balance of both. But either way, K.Luke dropping another fantastic batch of their blended straight bourbon whiskeys. Guys, if you're looking for more reviews like this, hit that subscribe button and bell notification to be alerted of any upcoming reviews or live streams. You also find me on Instagram at Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. Till next time, guys, stay dusty.